Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Mr. Holder, and I'm going to show you in this video how to use basic shapes. The first thing we want to look at, if you look at the final result here that we're going for, you'll notice several shapes that appear like basic shapes. We have circles, we have some crescent moon shapes, and some square and triangular shapes that we're going to be using. So the basic shapes are going to work out quite well for us while we do this. So the first thing I did is I created a new blank layer called layer 4, and I'm going to show you first how to draw a square in Illustrator. So what you want to do on your layer palette is find the shape tool, which is probably looking like a square to you. It might be a rounded rectangle or ellipse or one of these other ones here. Remember that to get to different tools in Illustrator, you want to click and hold, and you'll notice that there's a flyout menu that comes up with different tools that you can choose from. So we're going to start with the rectangle tool, and there's a couple ways that you can start making a shape. One is to just click and draw, and as you click and pull on your mouse, you're going to notice a rectilinear shape coming up, and it's kind of difficult to just arbitrarily draw out a square. So we can use the shift key in conjunction with holding down the mouse button and pulling on our mouse to constrain that into a square shape. But if you want to do like something like a horizontal rectangle, you can just pull up and down to kind of make it long or skinny, however you want to do that. And you'll notice here it's a red square because I have red set as my fill color. So if you want that to go back to the default black and white, you could always click on the black and white default icon here to make the stroke black and the fill white. Now what I like to do when I'm drawing in Illustrator here is to make sure that my fill is set to none, which is this little button down here at the bottom here. So you see the red slash through it. It's going to do it without a fill. So if I move this graphic now around, you'll be able to see the graphics below it because it's just a stroke. You can also do this without a stroke, and all you're going to see is the wireframe. But if you click off of it, it disappears, and so that can be a little bit difficult to kind of mess around with. So I do this at least with a stroke, and I'll click on my fill and make sure to say no fill. That way I can see my tracing below it and use that as reference. So here I have a square shape that I can use. I can adjust the size of that by grabbing one of these anchor points along the outer edge to change the size of that and kind of fine-tune some things on that. So that's how you do a square. If you want to do a circle, it kind of works in the same way. You grab the ellipse tool. It's not called a circle tool, but an ellipse tool. And you just simply drag and let go of the mouse button. You'll end up with an elliptical shape. If you want to do a circle, you're going to do like you did with the square and hold shift down, and it will constrain your diameter of your circle to be a perfect circle. When you let go, you have a perfect circle. So you can draw several shapes really quickly just by clicking and dragging and drawing your different shapes. Now the other thing that you can do with the basic shapes is you can do a rounded rectangle shape if you want to, and what's different between that and the square obviously is the fact that it's got rounded corners on it. So you have a few extra anchor points that you can tweak and manipulate, and you can also set the radius of that corner shape there, so you could tell it that you want it to be a sort of a wider angle on the tips of those corners, or you can have it be a tighter angle. It's just sort of up to you. And of course holding down shift will constrain that into a square shape with rounded corners. Moving on down, if I go to the polygon tool, I can draw out different polygons. So you can see here I have a hexagon that I've drawn. If I want to go with something that is maybe like an octagon or even a triangle, which is 3 sides, I have to do that a little bit differently and tell Illustrator that I want it to have however many sides that I want to use. So basically what you do is you take your cursor and click and let go on your desktop, and you want to tell it how many sides. So if I want to do a triangle, I have to use the polygon tool to do this. So I'm going to reduce the sizes down to 3 and hit OK, and then I end up with a triangular shape. Now from here I can grab my direct select tool, the black arrow, and manipulate the anchor points surrounding that triangle to make it any size that I wish if I want to come up with a more custom triangle. So polygons are a little bit different than the rectangle or the elliptical tool in that you have to click and let go. Now if you want to make any of these shapes a specific size, width-wise, height-wise, whatever, you grab the tool that you want to use. So we'll start with the rectangle tool. And rather than clicking and drawing with the rectangle tool, I'm going to click and release. And here I can go in and put how big I want the width to be. So if I want this to be a square, and I want it to be a 2" by 2" square, I just put 2 by 2 and hit OK, and I'm going to end up with a 2 by 2 square. So if I use my direct select tool and I look at that, you can see at the top here that the width and height is 2 by 2. And if I wanted to make a very specific rectangular shape, I would click and release. And maybe if I want it to be wider than it is tall, I could set that to be 4" by 2", and I'll have a long, skinny rectangle. And the same goes for using circles too. If I use the elliptical tool and I click and let go, I can set the width and height of my circle. If those two numbers are differently, it's not going to be a circle but an ellipse. So if I want to set that to be a 2 by 2 circle, those two numbers have to be the same. And so that's pretty much how you create basic shapes. The real fun happens when you start combining these shapes using the Pathfinder palette. So I'm going to take you, kind of give you a little bit of a highlight in the direction we're going in the next tutorial with the Pathfinder tool by showing you a few things here. If you notice with my sketch and with the final result here, this top of the grill is basically just a half circle. So what we're going to do is draw a circle and then cut that out. And then we can do the same with the top. And then we're going to do the same with this crescent here and also this bottom part of the grill. And then we'll use a little bit of pen tool in a different tutorial where I show you with the pen tool how to make a custom abstract sort of a different looking shape with this fire here using the pen tool. And then we'll also finish things up by talking about text and all those other things that Illustrator provides. I think I showed everything here. Yeah, because I'm going to do rotate. Let's see. Pathfinder's next line.